Hello, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Let's play chess. Call you back in a bit.
Yep.
All right. I gotta mute mute the mic for about a minute or two here. Right. Interesting game. I think it centered on one or two serious blunders here and earlier here. Let's check it out. E4, E5, C4, Bishop C5, Knight F3, Knight F6. I've been talking recently about how good is a pin, right? It's not just about what piece you're pinning and who's it's pinned to. Does the pin work for that position? So here I played Bishop G5. Before deciding on Bishop G5, I noted that my opponent's dark squared bishop had moved once already, and my opponent's B8 knight had moved to C6, where it's less able to support the F6 knight and the queen to escape this pin. So makes this a moderately useful pin, because the bishop has already moved. The only thing that could make this more, well, not the only thing, but within reason, it would be more valuable if black had played pawn to d6, now making it very difficult to backtrack and undo the pin, or if in some way black and white had exchanged minor pieces and black didn't have his dark squared bishop at all. As it is, this was a moderately useful pin. That helps me here. That information, thinking about that, helps me here where I'm deciding to make the move, Bishop G5. And as now the question is put to the bishop by H6, my opponent decided to go all the way to chase that bishop as much as possible by following with G5, knowing that the bishop pin on the knight was pretty darn good. Moderate to maybe slightly better than moderate, informs my decision here to sacrifice a knight for 2 pawns. I am now down a point of material, and there's something to be said for white has some dynamic ideas for not just attack, but attack and improvement on black's king side. With bishop e7, we show that black has taken 2 moves on that bishop, and that might be just enough. Now, I think this is probably, technically, this is probably still black's board, but let's see how the game develops. So I'm still, I know that the knight is protected twice, but I'm still going to place my queen on f3, and this pressure on that knight, pressure on that knight, pressure on that knight, and maybe something will come our way. Until then, it's normal development with a move like knight to c3. Same too for my opponent. Bishop to e6 is a fine move for development. Another interesting opportunity or idea would be bishop to g4. Better pack your brain for some good calculation. Does that ease the pressure on the f6 knight? In this situation you wouldn't, but does queen takes g4 make sense? Knight takes g4, but it doesn't work out. But things like that, you'll look for these more sharper and calculative lines after a move like bishop to g4, or preparing for a move like bishop to g4. Instead, bishop to e6 is a fine move, natural move, and developing black's last minor piece. I thought h4 was an interesting idea, and my opponent shows some teeth with knight to d4 and attacking white's queen. So the retreat to d1 is really the only sensible move in response. And some of these other moves just kind of, queen e2 just kind of gives things away, right? Queen to e2. This is queen to e2. It captures the knight would be capturing the queen. So that's some sort of folly. But of course, queen to d1. bishop to e2. And now, at this moment, this was an interesting decision point. Yeah, I took a while with the bishop to e2 move, and a reasonable amount of time with knight to b5, and then again knight to d4, before sort of returning to quicker moves. Why did I think so long on bishop to e2? I'm facing I'm behind in material, and black has a better board, and there's no clear plan. That's really the issue here. Is not that I'm really down by that much material or anything, but white just has no clear plan. So I went. What did I do? I think I did this well. Was to go back to basics, just simple development. It's not. It wasn't ideal, but I won the game anyway later on. So tit for tat, I guess. And I played knight to b5, trying to make things interesting with the a pawn and maybe a recapture. Who knows? Just a kind of a mild stirring of the pot here by white. a6, and we're going to exchange knights. Queen b3, there's nothing all that special about it. b5 was not the move I expected. I'm aware of the pin on the pawn. You know, c takes b4 is not good because of the bishop will capture my queen. I think this move was subtle, and I agree with Torch. Also, this move was best. It's more dynamic than simply retreating. But, white's not doing very well here. This is a little bit risky. The move b5 was a little bit risky, so there is a little bit of counter attacking possibilities, especially capture a6 with check. Ooh, does that say this has repeat position written all over it, except for that the queen is here. So, let's keep going. King to b7 might not exactly solve the problem with the b5 pawn, but it does shore down a6, so that's a good move. And with bishop to f3, you never know. When you play against a human opponent, like I'm playing most of my games against the human opponent and finishing a ton of them against the computer on maximum on chess.com. When you play against a human opponent, there's the possibility for occasional miscalculations and just outright oversight. Is that the right word? Oversight can mean two things. Oversight meaning missing something, looking over something without proper inspection. So I play knight to f3, which is not, this is not the tournament Kasparov versus Karpov move, right? There's no real threat here. Black can play king to b6, and I think he's fine. I mean, the bishop can't come to e3 for an attack against b6 for fear of being gobbled up in the first place and so on. So king to b6 would have been fine, and there would have been other moves. But the threat, of course, is if unchecked or if with some other excursion, white can play pawn to e5 check and win the knight on f6. That's the discovered attack that I'm hoping for. Now, d5 looks like that should do it, right? This pretty much solves that issue. There's no check for starters with pawn to e5. So d5's a good move. I wanted to liquidate anyway, and now it's tough, but the temptation, right? Capturing on a3, and I can capture a bishop and your queen, and then the position, to be fair to my opponent, the position mostly just collapsed here, right? this is a total positional collapse. I had fun. I enjoyed this game. Noted here, I actually felt a little bit foolish here after pawn takes f7. Well, I guess actually, I was worried of knight, or I was worried of rook to e8 check, and I would play in over here to f1. But this is not to be worried for two reasons. For two reasons. First of all, pawn takes e8 equals queen, right? And two, the king can indeed scurry to f1, even if we don't find the pawn move. The king is not checkmated in some sort of last minute, last gasp, horrible mating attack. So all is not lost, folks. My opponent played rook to f8, and I castled, and then how to win when you're ahead by even more than a rook. All right. Let's finish this game out, and that's going to be the when I finish this game against computer, that will be the end of this broadcasting session. So force the king in front here. Okay. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Gravitrons. On more gravity. Have a great night.